blessed women, and hello, righteous men, and welcome to Therapeutic Tuesdays podcast with me, your host, Amber Star, and a kingdom woman. And y'all already know, every Tuesday, I am super excited to be here. Me, God, and the Holy Spirit, we are on a mission to get you to value yourself and be self-worth. And this month, it is all about you ladies. So I did a survey, and guess what was number one? Finances. So for the month of February, we're going to call this Financial February, and we have some amazing women of God who want to talk about their expertise in finances. And this woman of God, Atia, Littlejohn-Shepperson, is a financial professional. She's a mother, she's a wife, and she's full of knowledge. And I was blessed to meet her virtually on a line above. Atia, welcome to Therapeutic
Tuesdays. Thank you. So happy to be here. So blessed, full of gratitude. So thank you for having me as well. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for being here, sis. I love how you just started it off. You said, I'm full of gratitude.
Right. Have to be every single day. Like, if you don't start with gratitude, that attitude of gratitude, what are we really doing here?
Yes, right. Right. Y'all know how we do on Tuesdays. Go ahead and grab your journal and your tea, and let's get ready for a therapeutic conversation. And the name of this Financial February podcast episode with Tia is Treasure in Saving and Sharing. Tia's going to give her wisdom, and we're going to get some treasure, and she's going to share. So we're going to call this audience, because I'm all for positive affirmation, our financial wellness audience. And Tia, oh my goodness, we're going to start, we're going to go for the thunder. You asked me 3 amazing questions because you do an assessment. Can you let our audience know about those 3 questions and how you do your financial assessment?
Okay, so ultimately when I sit down with someone, right, the idea is that, for one, the topic of money is very taboo, right? And so most people, they don't want to even engage in that type of conversation. And it's either because they feel like they don't have enough money, or they have maybe too much, and they're like, I want you to know what I got, get out my pocket, stop counting my coins. Or it's just, you know what, I have questions, but I don't want to seem like an idiot, so I don't really want to ask questions and things like that, right? So for me, it is a very intimate and delicate conversation to have with someone, and you have to kind of know how to respect those boundaries, right? So when I do a financial needs analysis, it is individualized and based on each individual person and their unique circumstances, right? So for me, if I'm sitting down with somebody and I want to get to know them a little bit better, the first question may be, hey, money is blank, right? Fill in that sentence for me. So some people will say, well, money is the devil, or money is whatever, right? So depending on the answer that someone may give also helps me to understand their idea and their thought process when it comes to money, right? Because someone's going to have either a positive answer, or I don't want to necessarily call it a negative answer, but it's just their answer. It's just, again, depending on what their circumstances have been with money, is usually how people tend to view money, right? The second question that I usually ask is, if money were no object, what would you be doing with your time? Right? And it gives people the idea of, you know what would I rather be doing? Or if I had unsaid amount of money, what would I really be doing? It gets people to actually start dreaming again, right? Going back to those thoughts of maybe what they used to say when they were younger, or when they first started working and things like that. So I love to see like the light bulb kind of going off and trying to figure out, like, what would I be doing? Most answers usually are, I would be spending more time with family, or I would travel. Those are the top 2 answers, right? Always family and always travel. And then the third question that I normally ask would be, if you had a magic wand, what would you do with it? Right? And so with that question, people usually tend to answer like, I just want to make sure my family is good. Right? So there's this idea that even with all three of those questions, people ultimately want to make sure that they are okay and that their family is okay and also taken care of. So again, that allows me to kind of just dig a little bit deeper into who that person is, the kind of goals and aspirations that they want to attain. And, my purpose is to find out how can I help them get there.
I and Tia, give us a little bit of background of how you got into finances and what made you want to help other women in this area and men as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this as short. I fell into this accidentally. Right? So my background is education. I would say from about, I did 20 years in education. So I've worked in community centers. I've worked in a foster care home before. Anything that you can name, I've pretty much done it, right? And so I would say 11, maybe from about 2004 or so to about 2000 and, no, I'm lying. It was about, I'm trying to think. When did pandemic start? 2020?
Yeah, about 2019.
It was about 2013. Yeah, so in the year 2013 is pretty much when I started the preschool era. I love my 0 to 5-year-olds, right? And so I was doing preschool, and I was talking to a young lady who had, she had just started working at the job. And this was some years later. This is towards the end, maybe like 2019 or so, 2018. And I would see her on the playground, and we were speaking, and we were just talking about money matters, right? Like, I wish I had a little bit more. We get paid as teachers once a month, so that's a struggle in itself. If there are any teachers, that once a month check is spent when you get it, right? And so she was like, "Oh, you should talk to my boyfriend about stuff like that." And I was like, "No, I'm okay." And then time kind of passed, and I was intrigued, and eventually I had a conversation with her boyfriend at the time. Now he's her husband. It's so funny, but I had a conversation with him, and at that point, that's where the journey began. First I started figuring out how I could help myself, and then from there, boom. And that's the beginning of the journey for me. So I fell into it accidentally because I always thought that my true love was education, but now I'm just educating in a different form. That's all.
Yes, I love it. Well, congratulations. We are super excited to hear about your 7 money milestone. So I'm glad you fell into it.
Right. So 7 money. Well, go ahead. I'll let you.
No, go ahead. You know what? God is good. Our financial wellness artists, go ahead. Dive into this because you are the expert here in this area. Dive into the 7 money milestones.
Okay. So first off, let me kind of start by saying that, again, usually there is some sort of trauma associated with money, right? So you have this idea of reasons why people put things off, right? And it's usually 4 things that kind of get in your way. So it's about self-esteem, right? Self-image, self-worth. Sometimes people will say, well, if I don't have enough money, then that means, they kind of equate wealth to self-esteem and self-image, right? Which is, we all know it's silly, but there are people out there that do it, right? They figure, I may not have any money, but if I look good, that's okay. That's the image that I need to portray, right? A lot of people have limiting beliefs when it comes to this idea of having money, creating money, saving money, protecting it, all these things, right? Then you have, for instance, some people have like an emotional attachment to it. So it's like, oh, wait, if Uncle Bob and Grandma and Uncle Joe don't know about it, I'm uncertain, and I don't think I want to do that because ain't nobody I know doing it, so I don't really know about it, right? And then again, just like a lack of knowledge. And that's why it's important. The first milestone is getting a financial education. It all starts there, right? And I'll share one little tip really quickly. For most people, there's a simple rule called the rule of 72, right? And what the rule of 72 does is it shows you how long it's going to take for your money to double. So let's say if you have your money in the bank, right? Most banks give us, depending on who you bank with, 0.01%. So if you take 72 and divide it by 0.01%, well, that's going to tell you how long it's going to take for your money to double. Let's say if the bank is being really friendly And they're like, you know what? I'll give you 3%, right? Then you take that same 72, you divide it by 3, and that gives you 24 years. So it lets you know your money is going to double in 24 years. The banks know this, right? We don't. So when banks offer us, say, 0.01% on our money, but then turn around and say, hey, how about I give you a credit card? Usually, what's the interest rate for a credit card?
The highest one I'm thinking of, honestly, Tia, APR, I seen 35.9%.
Listen, so imagine you take that 72 divided by 35.9%. That's telling you how much of your money is going back to the bank because it's doubling. Most people don't know that. Right? So that's like, you got to get this financial education, and it all starts there. Ask questions. Most people, they turn to, a best friend. Maybe let me figure out what mom and dad were doing. It's like either I'm going to do what they did, or I'm definitely not going to do, again, depending on that relationship with money that they have. Right? So it starts with getting a financial education. Second milestone is securing proper protection. Right? Sometimes that topic is a dreary topic of life insurance, right? A lot of people associate it with death. Ultimately, the word life is in the word. It protects us. It protects the life. It's not about death at all, right? But it has this negative connotation to it, and it just kind of really just sucks, right? Because a lot of people just feel like, I don't really want to talk about that, because if I start talking about it, something might happen. And I say to those people, right, with all love and respect, I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Amen.
That's pretty much how that goes. And again, just ask questions and find out exactly what that means to secure proper protection, right? Another topic is create an emergency fund.
Yes.
There have been a lot of studies that show that if there was an emergency to happen, most people don't even have access to about $500 to $1,000, really $500. And so we want to get people to understand the importance of creating that emergency fund, so that the savings account doesn't become the emergency fund. The savings account is supposed to be the savings account, and the emergency fund is what you want to dig in, for missed work, medical bills, property damage, if you wash and dryer breaks, broken appliances, things like that. It's not for, oh, you know what, my child got a birthday party, let me go get this birthday gift. That's not what the fund is for. And so it's recommended that when creating an emergency fund, you have at least 3 to 6 months of income saved up, because again, the question pops up, if anything were to happen, right? And let's say, even if you lose your job, right? Or you get sick or injured, you can't go to work for a few months, where's that income coming from? So you want to make sure you have a backup plan, right? Applying debt management, that's another milestone. You really want to know what you owe. At the end of the day, like, when is the last time someone took a piece of paper and a pen and really looked at, oh, this is what I'm bringing in, this is what's going out, and did a comparison to see, right? How much do I really have left over? Where am I spending where maybe I could cut back a little bit, right? Targeting one debt at a time. A lot of people, and this is a myth, a lot of people will say, when it comes to trying to save money, they'll say, oh, well, I got to cut down this debt and then I'll be able to save. And that never works. Debt is never going anywhere. We will always owe someone, whether it's light, gas, electricity, phone bill, type. If you drive a car, you will always owe insurance. You will always owe that car note until your car is paid off. For homes, we will always owe.
That's a good bill. Point. That is,
and so that's basically how it works. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, just applying debt management is that's it. Like, no late payments, right? Look at what you're spending. Let me tell you this quick story. When I first did my own financial needs analysis, right? Well, I did it with someone, but when I did my financial needs analysis, I realized I had a bunch of subscriptions that I didn't even remember that I had. I throw money away, right? And not even, did I go to the gym? Absolutely not. But I was paying that gym bill like I was going to the gym. channel subscriptions, right? Am I even using these channels? I don't even remember the last time. But a lot of times we get on these plans of like automatic payments coming out, and because we're not seeing, you know what I'm saying? Like the money goes in the bank account, we're not really seeing the money. We're not really paying attention. So I always say to people, hey, check your statements. Like read your statements. Everybody read your statements. It's very important to read your statements. Another milestone would be increasing cash flow. We always want a little bit of extra, you know what I mean, on the side. And so you want to be able to weigh your income versus your expenses and also your needs and your wants. Is it really a need or is it just a want? Right? Do I need to buy this because I just want it, or do I absolutely need this? Right? You always want to spend less than you earn with that, and then you want some cash flow at the end of the day. It's a lot of people out here that, in order to get cash flow, they do side gigs. Right? They may start a business. It's different ways, you know what I mean, to kind of increase your cash flow. It just kind of depends on what you have the time for and what you're willing to put in to be able to do it. And then ultimately, building wealth, right? Building wealth is milestone number 6. Most people say, oh, I'll start saving when I make more money. I'll start saving after I get a raise. Now, I'll tell you this, because sometimes when I speak to people, they say, oh, what you doing, girl? That's a scam. You really believe in that? Or they don't trust the companies, right? How long these companies been around? I don't trust it. And I say to people, again, with all love and respect, but I will tell you one thing about me. I am going to tell you the truth because I love you.
Right. I love it.
I'm going to tell you the truth because I love you. And I'm like, if you think what I do is a scam, the idea of waiting for a 50-cent raise for a whole year, that is a scam to me. And I would rather figure out a way, increase my cash flow, save my own money, protect my own money, than to wait for a 50 cents, So again, building wealth. There's no such thing as I'll start when I have money, because 9 times out of 10, people are not going to really think they ever have enough money. So when are you really going to start? Right. It starts here in the mindset, honestly. It takes some discipline, and it takes a real true conversation with yourself to say, okay, this is what I truly, absolutely want. Right? Building wealth takes discipline. Some people have to save using automatic deposits. I would say for some people, don't touch that money until you reach your goal. Or if you have a particular goal, say, okay, I'm not going to do this until, maybe you say, I'm not going to get a mani-pedi until I reach this goal. And if you reach your goal, then treat yourself to a mani-pedi.
Right.
And it just kind of takes some of that discipline. Review your goals every single year and then make adjustments as necessary, right? And then one of the most important, right, milestones would be protecting wealth. And most people, they kind of just don't ever really get around to it. This is one that's a little bit touchy, for me, because I think just a lot of people just don't understand what protecting wealth is, and they don't understand that they have things, and people always kind of, there's a numbness when it comes to ownership, right? Say, oh, I don't have this. I talk about estate planning with some of my clients, and certain communities will say, I don't have anything. And I'm going to tell you, your estate is made up of everything that belongs to you. Your house, your car, your furniture, your electronic devices, your personal possessions, your checking account, your savings account, your life insurance, your businesses, your guardianship if you have children, of underage children, right? And any debt that you owe. That is your entire, and of course there's more, but that is made up of your estate. So if you can say, I have a house, I have a car, I have furniture, we all have an electronic device, right? That's your estate. But a lot of people think that you have to have this big, enormous amount. Oh, I need millions or a couple of $100,000. No. If you have things, you have an estate, right? And so, usually within the state, you just want to make sure you have certain documents, right? So, of course, a will, financial power of attorney, advanced healthcare directives and things like that, a living will, off top, maybe like the HIPAA release form, right? And you want to make sure you have a trust, right? A lot of people don't pay enough attention. They think, oh, I got a will, that's enough. But sometimes depending on, right, depending on what happens, we all know that even after we pass away, we don't always follow instructions, right? The living think they know better than what the dead may have wanted, right? They want to do it their way, right? And so, again, if somebody doesn't have that protection, for instance, I know a story about a client who, it was male and female, right? And so they had young children. They went on a trip. Unfortunately, they got into an accident. They both passed away, right? And so they did not have the guardianship papers in place for what was going to happen for their children. So grandma would help out a lot with the children, right? And so ultimately, the courts will decide. If you don't have that paperwork and stuff in place, anybody can elect to be guardian of children. And so grandma, of course, she was happy to do it. She elected herself to be guardian, but the courts decided, oh, you're on a fixed income. I don't think you'll be able to do it. We need someone else. So even though grandma knew those kiddos and she had been from the beginning taken care of, because unfortunately there wasn't anything in place, anybody can elect. And, aunt, she decided, and she did, she took care of the children, but she was single. She didn't have children and things like that. So you can kind of imagine what can happen when there's someone who's single, don't have children, and anybody can elect to be, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you got to be careful, because you might have somebody, you might be in an unfortunate situation, and somebody might elect to be guardian of your children that you already know. I don't want them to, I don't want them to they don't have the same morals, values, or goals as I do. So
Right.
At the end of the day, you just want to be protected. That's it.
Tia, you dropped so many.
I'm sorry. Was that too much?
No, that was perfect, because I pray audience, our financial wellness audience, those are the milestones. And you said some really pivotal points. It starts in your mind. So if you're going to God and you're like, what steps should I take to save money? You're going to build it. And then you have 7 milestones. So you've taken on everything, our whole body, how we should save, when she save. Let's break it down a little bit more, Tia. What would you say to someone, they are trying to work the hardest on building that emergency fund, on building that savings? What are some tips that you would like to give to our financial wellness audience?
It all really starts with that financial needs analysis. If you just want to start, take a piece of paper, find out what your expenses are. How much do you pay per month for things? If you have a car, are you still making car payments? How much is your gas per month? How much is your insurance per month? It all starts. How much do you pay for groceries? How much do you eat out? How much is your rent? How much is your HOA fees? It really starts there. How much is cable, utilities? Like, you would be surprised to know how much we actually pay for. And it is overwhelming. You know what I mean? So it starts there. Find out what your expenses are and find out how much you are bringing in. From that, depending on what your goal is and how much you want to save and how you want to get there, will determine what you want to save. If you like, look, I already know at the end of the month, I only got about $100 left over, then start with the discipline. It's not really about how much you save, but start saving. That's the hardest part, is starting to save. It's not the amount. You'll get to the amount, if you'll earn more money as time goes on, right? You'll get a couple of dollars from here, from there. People give money for birthdays, a couple of scratch offs, whatever, right? I'm not saying but you get what I'm saying. But ultimately, there are always opportunities to earn more money. The hardest part is starting to save. Can I do it? Absolutely, you can. Start though. Start. Even if you start with $50, start with $50. If you have $100, start with $100. Don't overwhelm yourself. I think that's what people do. They want to say, oh, I want to save $300. But you don't have $300, so don't start there. Right. It's okay wherever you are. It is okay. The idea is just to start.
I love that. And to someone, so for example, they have where you can put automatically your check, you can put it into a savings or also another bank account. How do you feel about those techniques? Have you noticed that those are helpful to people?
you know what? There are some people who, I'll use, say for instance, like a 401k, right? Because some people are like, I'm just going to save with my job and this is going to be my retirement, and that all great strategies, right? But again, where the education comes in, or rather the lack of understanding comes in, people don't know how to maximize, or they don't really understand what the 401k is. And again, it could be a 401k. It depends on the industry. 401k, 403b, 457, doesn't matter. Tax codes, all the same thing, right? And so the idea is, what some people don't understand is the company will say, oh, we do matching. So they automatically think that the company is matching them 100%. But then when we sit down with them and we read the small print, right? Because always small print taketh away and big print giveth. So when we read the small print, they'll say, oh, well, we only match 50% up to 4%.
Right.
Well, what? That means you're not really. So you'll have some people out there who are giving the job 10%, and the company is only matching like half of 4%. So you're giving money away to a strategy that in the end has deferred taxes, which means we're not going to tax you now, we're going to tax you later. Now, let me ask you something. Do you think taxes are going to go up or down in the future?
Up. Up.
So you telling me you're going to let me save this money now, and then you're going to be like, hey, remember when we let you save all that money? Well, now you got about $100,000, but so now taxes are XYZ, and now you got to pay taxes on the gains of that money. That means my 100K is not really 100K anymore.
Right.
So people just need to understand how to maximize what they're already using, right? Some people save in savings account, that's fine, but you got to know where to put your money, and some people save in life insurance, right? That's another idea that sometimes people just don't understand or they don't know about, that there is a way to put money into life insurance to help save, right? That's tax exempt. There's really only two ways that the government allows you to save tax exempt, and that's through a life insurance retirement plan or through like a Roth IRA, otherwise known as the rich man's Roth. Depending on the audience, they may know rich man's Roth or a Roth IRA. Not traditional, not to be confused with the traditional IRA, but a Roth IRA.
Yep. See, you are just dropping some gems that I think as we go into 2024, how can we save? When should we save now? How to do that? And Tia, one of the things I love about you is I love your business name and what it stands for. Can you give us a quick background to the name of your amazing business, and then let our financial wellness audience know where can they reach you and get all the tea about you and how to connect with you to help them with their financial goals?
Absolutely. So, okay. Name of the company is Go for Gold, right? And so gold stands for giving our lives direction, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we're all wanting some information about, oh my gosh, how does money work? What can I do with it? People are making financial mistakes all the time. You could be in a financial deja vu, just going over the same thing over and over. And so giving our lives direction, basically for me, just means that, look, we're going to sit down. We're going to do a step-by-step analysis. We're going to find out where you are, where you want to be, and make sure that you're on track to get that, right? And so the name kind of is so funny because I grew up with my mom and dad listening to like soul 70s, really my dad, right? So always listen to like classic soul music. And so one night in the middle of the night, it was, you know how you used to have those commercials on in the middle of the night that always sold the CDs and stuff? I am probably dating myself, right? But that commercial came on and I was like, oh, snap, gold, right? Like, so it's so funny because I still have a vision board up, right? Because again, it's about mindset. So I still have my vision board up and I just wrote solid gold on my paper and it's there. And then next thing you know, one day I was sitting down and I was like, and I wrote out giving our lives direction. And when I looked at the paper again, I was like, oh, snap. Look, giving our lives direction is GOLD. And then that was it. It was born. And I was like, oh, there we go. It's born. Thank you.
I love it. And you see, I got my gold on. My little brown gold.
And the first key word that you have right there on your shirt is love. Like, it starts there. You have to love yourself. right? Love the information that you're giving to yourself, right? Love learning. You got to love learning, and you got to love learning about yourself, about others, and you got to love learning about money. Sometimes it's an overwhelming topic for some.
Right.
You got to seek it. Like, it's not going anywhere. We're always going to have some sort of currency, right? Will it be the dollar? I have no clue what the future holds, but we're going to have some sort of currency, and we need to learn about our options. And that's the scary part. People are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to be viewed a certain way. Now, if you want to get in contact with me, my phone lines are always open. So I always tell people my telephone number, 562-208-0057. That's my telephone number. My email, moneyisamindset@gmail.com, or you can reach me at atialittlejohn@gmail.com, either one. Atia Littlejohn is a little bit more personal, but moneyisamindset@gmail.com. Then I know you reaching out to me because you want to handle your business, right? And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. I will say this on Facebook. I'll put out things, but I really just like to play around on social media, so you won't get a lot of the money. I'm just me. I'm just regular. I love being me. I'm silly. I'm goofy. I'm just like everybody else. And so that's what you'll see when you visit, my Facebook page. You'll see my family. I have a large family. When it comes to, Instagram, same thing. You can find me on Instagram at Go for Goals. And it'll be, GO, the number 4, G.O.L.D. In lowercase, or Atia Shepperson, if you take my name down. Either way, you can find me, put in Atia Littlejohn, Atia Shepperson, no matter what, I'm going to pop up somewhere, right?
Okay.
I'm going to pop up somewhere. Yes.
I love it. And to our financial freedom audience, Tia's information was popped up on the screen as she was talking, and it is in the show notes. Make sure you check her out so that your 2024 could be filled with so much success in your savings. And Atia, thank you for just blessing us with your ideas. As we wrap up this treasure and saving and sharing, what is one last seed that you want to drop to our financial wellness audience so that they can take that seed, it can be watered, and that they can save it as they go throughout this year of 2024?
Okay, so the seed I will plant would be really just take time to ask questions, reach out, talk to family, speak to friends. People usually don't say that they need help until it's too late, right? And they don't know where to get that help from. You guys now have another source, even your platform, right? Your platform is a great way to open up the dialogue, because that's where it starts, with the dialogue. Start having a dialogue. Find out what people even dream about again, what they want to do with themselves, how they want their money to grow, how they want to save it, protect it, things like that. And so ultimately, honestly, you just gotta start dreaming again. And you just gotta love yourself. Love yourself enough to ask those hard questions to yourself. What do I want? Are you thinking, what do I have to do? Like, oh, I gotta go to work in order to make this money. Because when you start thinking in that kind of negative way, it keeps attacking you. But if you start thinking, ooh, I'm gonna have this, affirmations every day.
Yes.
Every day. Money, finances is a part of affirmations. I can't wait for the abundance that I'm ready to receive.
Come on.
Make sure that money is always flowing to me. Cash is not going to be an issue for me. I will not be held down by debt. And you gotta speak these things into existence, right? And once you start speaking it into existence, there you go. It's you're going to start seeing little shifts and little changes and things like that. So that would be the seed that I would plant. Start with affirmations. Start talking to yourself positively about money. You treat your thoughts about money right, your money will treat you right.
Mic drop. That is so true. And what are we just doing on this podcast for our financial wellness audience? Make sure you check out Atia's awesome resources, her analysis, so that way you could be on target with your money goals. As always, put God first, put those positive affirmations, and go after all your dreams in 2024. We are praying that God will guide you in your decision making so you can overflow. And Tia, thank you for showing up on Therapeutic Tea Tuesdays as the beautiful, as the authentic kingdom woman that shared her treasure of money and how they can save it with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I totally appreciate it. I love that smile, man. That smile gets me every time. I just appreciate you, and I appreciate you even creating a platform where people can have these conversations. So thank you, and shout out to you. And you know, you got to thank God for the people in your life. And I'm absolutely blessed to have met you. And yeah, this was cool. So
yeah, you know how we do. I got another sister in Christ, as I say, and one that helps you save money. And yeah, she's gonna be modest, but make sure you check Atia out because she wants to expand her services. She has so many, and she's actually, this will air after, but she is doing a presentation in Philadelphia. So make sure y'all keep up with her. You might see me and her in the same room together because I really love what she's doing for the community. So make sure you keep hold because she could be in your neighborhood. She's going to be, I'm speaking it into God is good. She's going to be doing more presentations, more traveling, and helping you as her spiritual gift God gave her to save your money. Go ahead, Tia.
We will be in California and San Diego in March. So I know this is in February, but we'll be there in March. So that's right. Keep up.
Yes.
Let's talk. Let's meet. Let's chat. I love a good coffee chat. So
yes, let's do it.
And you know, can I say one last thing?
Yes, please.
Okay. One last thing I want to share is for most people, right? We always think about the bills and things, right? So 50% of our money always goes to living expenses, right? The difference between the reasons why we aren't where we want to be and why some other people are where they want to be is because they pay themselves first, right? And so we have to get to a point where we're like, all right, I know I got them bills, but let me save first and then pay my bills. I'm going to tell you, I probably should, that's unapologetically me. Start with you first. Those bills, you're always going to owe them, but pay yourself first, right? And so that was the last thing that I really it just came to me and I had to get it off my chest because that is a thing that goes on. We so worried about paying our bills. I got to pay gas, rent, electric. Now pay your rent. Don't tell nobody I told you don't pay your rent now.
Right.
Pay your rent, but at the same time, pay yourself first. You know,
that is so good because it's only going to help you, and it's not the bills are present, but you're paying yourself first is for the future, and I love that.
Absolutely. People don't think about the times when they're not going to be working anymore. Which reminds me, did you hear about that little secret, right? That there are some people who are running for president right now who says that they're going to make the retirement age 70, as in 70, so that 20-year-olds right now should expect to work until they're 70.
I keep hearing about it just keeps seeming raising every year. I'm gonna be keeping that in prayer.
Okay. I do not want my 20-year-old working until I don't want to work. Let's go work until they're 70. When do they get to enjoy life if they got to work until they're 70 years?
Right. Well, we
get me started on a whole nother topic.
We gonna pray about that, and you giving us the wisdom, so that way we can save. So that way, for anybody, it won't be that we'll be getting that passive income, and that we won't be having to we'll be able to enjoy life.
Right. Let me show you how to grow your money. The key is compound interest. If you could find out about compound interest, that is where it starts. That is where money is made. Compound interest. Eighth wonder of the world.
There we go. Oh, y'all already know we're going to have to do a part 2 with Tia later on this year. So she has so much more wisdom to give. So I thank you, sis. Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for being a blessing to Therapeutic Tea Tuesdays podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
And to our tell you that we love you. God loves you even more. Get ready for continued financial February. Tia kicked us off with this awesome interview to get you saving. Yes. Get you saving and get you on track. And Tia, I always say this to our wonderful YouTube fam. Thank you for supporting. We're here every Tuesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be blessed. Send in your requests about what you would like to see, what would bless you in this year of 2024. And I want to say we are sitting in abundance and abundance of blessings your way.
And